Good morning everyone, welcome to the 14th of the 12th, 2017. Do you like my Iron Man mug? Something wrong with it. When I poured the hot water into it, it started crackling, so I don't know if the paintwork is, it's coming apart or what, but it wasn't a good sound to hear in the morning. So, let's get on with the news. Okay, the new reality of mobile AI and computer vision venture capital. What's this? Okay, don't care about that. Half of Amazon app users have been switched to a new swipe-based one-click checkout. That's interesting because I haven't found any difference. So I guess they're using a new payment processor now. Putty be gone. I use putty. What's wrong with it? "39 senators tell FCC abandon this radical and reckless plan." Is this to do with net neutrality? Let's see. Excuse me. Yes, it is. A letter to the FCC chairman Ajit Pai, 39 senators, all Democrats, though Republicans have also voiced their concerns, urged the agency to stop its plan to eliminate net neutrality rules, where the objections have come in ones and twos before. This is the largest official complaint we've seen against the FCC's proposal. Really? Which is due to be voted on tomorrow. You mean today? It's actually being voted on today. Excuse me. So the guys in America are going to abolish the ability. They're going to abolish the ability to have a neutral playing field. This is where net neutrality is. So you have a service provider, let's say in an American case, Comcast. They will provide you internet. That's fine. Bandwidth gets used. It doesn't matter what website you go on. Doesn't matter what service you use, such as Netflix, YouTube. But with net neutrality, what they can do, they can look at all the high bandwidth websites and apps, and they'll think, okay, YouTube takes a lot of bandwidth because of the video content. Video is a lot more heavier to transport than pictures, and websites are even smaller in size usually to transport, meaning there's less bandwidth used for those. But for video, there's a lot of bandwidth that needs to be used. So if you think, for example, a 1080p HD video streaming from YouTube could be anywhere between 100 megabytes to 600 megabytes, and you can understand 600 megabytes in the matter of 10 minutes is quite a lot of data to be sent through the pipeline. So yeah, the bandwidth will get used. So what Ajit Pai wants to do is take out their current net neutrality laws and say, okay, make it an open playing field, Now, the reason why they're doing this is because there's companies pushing them to do this. Ajit Pai used to work for one of these mobile providers, which obviously deals with a lot of bandwidth. I think it was Verizon he works for. So, Verizon, I'm not sure if they are a internet service provider in terms of, you know, broadband going to people's homes, but they definitely are a mobile phone supplier. So they do have an interest in this, because it will also mean that mobile phone providers will also need to charge different bands. So YouTube and Netflix will start getting charged £500,000, sorry, dollars a year, and that's just for the privilege of having their data centers in and around the backbones of Comcast, for example. So when these Comcast servers are hosting just Netflix or just YouTube video content, they're already paying for that. Okay, when we as service users are already paying you know, anywhere between $20 to $100 to actually have an internet connection coming to our homes. And you know, we're gonna then have to split down on what type of content you are gonna want. If you want to watch a lot of YouTube and Netflix, you're gonna have to buy a higher tier, or you're gonna have to go down to a lower tier because it's not affordable. So it's going to make the internet a really weird place to be, because a lot of people will be not upgrading for the extra cost, and this is quite dangerous actually, because what's going to happen is there's going to be too many people that can't afford to upgrade, and they're going to have to not use those certain services, meaning those websites, Netflix, YouTube, will start going down the pan. It's not even just those gaming sites, gaming services such as Steam, they'll go down. There'll be less people playing online games, meaning there's going to be less people buying games. So, you know, I don't think it's been thought out well enough. All they've been able to look at is what advantages comes to them in terms of cash. So they're already being paid, I bet. I think Ajit Pai is getting paid because, from what I've read from his interviews, is that he's already made up his mind. Net neutrality is going to go away, and it's a bad thing, because there's no freedom there. There's no freedom of speech. There's no freedom for the average man. There's no freedom for the companies that are currently online. Now, there's no easy way to actually figure out what to do, apart from make Ajit Pai and his FCC bill go away, because it needs to go away. It doesn't make sense. Why would you split up the internet even further? Okay, so let's just get on to the next subject, because this is one of the things that would be really annoying. Luckily in the UK we don't actually have an issue with this, because the other problem is, in America, some cities only have one internet provider, and that basically restricts you in using another provider if you don't like the prices of Comcast, for example. But here in the UK there's hundreds of, well, there's not hundreds, but there's at least a good 30 to 40 internet providers you could actually go to. But they're all providing the same amount of bandwidth. So if you're paying for 200 megabytes, you'll get 200 megabytes or closest to that as possible. Whereas if you're paying for 100 megabytes or 200 megabytes in the States, you're gonna have to stay with that provider because they're the only ones in the city to provide it. So it's not a good thing. They need to allow other internet providers into the system, but they shouldn't be trying to get rid of the net neutrality. So yeah, it's a difficult one, but it's one that they need to sort out. They need to sort it out fast, and hopefully it's not going to affect the rest of the world. Alright, so next thing. Excuse me. Red Bull unveils its service for digital movie purchases and rentals. Redbox. For some reason I read Red Bull. Apologies. Okay. Excuse me a moment. Okay, sorry about that. I just had to take a call. Okay, so here's some more net neutrality news. Comcast reiterates a shifting promise of no paid prioritization. Okay. It's funny we were talking about Comcast. Okay, so they're saying that they're not going to charge people for better bandwidth. Interesting. Let's see what else we've got. This Giphy Cat wants to fix your low fidelity GIFs with machine learning. Okay. Security robots are being used to ward off San Francisco's homeless population. Really? Let's look at this. So what? These robots are going around San Francisco and kicking homeless people out of what, bus shelters? Is it worse if a robot instead of a human is used to deter the homeless from setting up camp outside places of business? One such bot cop recently took over the outside of San Francisco SPCA, Animal Advocacy and Pet Adoption Clinic in the city's Mission District, to deter homeless people from hanging out there, causing some people to get very upset. Okay. It's a cool looking robot. You sure there's not a person in there? Okay. Twitter says Russians spent $1,000 on 6 Brexit related ads. Really? Do the Russians actually gain anything from Britain leaving the European Union? I don't think so. Okay. So let's have a look at page 1. For some reason it didn't go to page 1. I think it's because I opened a previous link. Samsung refreshes its Notebook 9 laptop line. Ooh, let's have a look. I'm in the market to either refurbish my old Dell laptop and stick Linux on there, or get something lightweight, like a Chromebook or something, for a couple of £100. But I haven't decided yet. I don't want it to be too underpowered, and as you know, I need to have all my usual pieces of software on there. Right, we'll have a look at that some other point. The Price is Right. Pace raises 2.5 million to automate hotel room pricing based on demand. Are you serious? Okay, so we've got Uber for hotels now. That's going to be quite bad. I have to go to a hotel quite regularly in my line of work, and usually demand is very high around the time that I need to go, because of the events industry and the events happening in and around say London, for example. Sometimes I can't get a hotel unless it's over the price that my company are willing to pay. So yeah, kind of crazy. Excuse me. Yep, as you can tell, I'm still sneezing and coughing and all sorts. So apologies for that. This is Roger Moore's son. I've never met or seen Roger Moore's son. That's weird. Doesn't look anything like his dad. Roger Moore's son Jeffrey Moore, an amateur songwriter, tries to get an Oscar for Best Original Song in Nick Panic's Winking documentary, and the winner isn't. Okay. Microsoft looks at making Bing results smarter with new AI-powered features and Reddit partnership. Okay. That's good. Microsoft makes Azure Bot Service generally available for developers. Interesting. Let's see what the BBC has to say. Okay, May heads to Brussels after EU vote loss. Okay, that was something I wanted to look into. Let's do that here. Theresa May is due at a summit in Brussels hours after Conservative rebels, you rebel scum, in the Commons defeated the government in a key Brexit vote. Okay. What was the vote about? I just need one sentence on what the vote was about. No? Okay, well in that case, I'll check it out at some other point. Okay, a third person charged over fatal fire. Okay, that's not good. It's getting worse, isn't it? So these are the people that died. Oh my god. What's haemophilia? British doctors say they have achieved mind-blowing results in an attempt to rid people of haemophilia A. Patients are born with a genetic defect that means they do not produce a protein needed to stop bleeding. Oh wow, this is good. A guy I knew at school, he had this condition where if he bleeds, he will basically bleed to death. So this is actually quite good news. 13 patients given the gene therapy at Barts Health NHS Trust are now off treatment, and with 11 producing near normal levels of the protein. Cool. It's amazing what they can do, but it's also amazing how back in the times they are with a lot of things compared to some of the doctors in the States. Okay, let's see, what's this? So the headline of this video is to do with the Grenfell Tower. Unfortunately, these are videos and I don't really want to get a copyright strike. I've actually already received one for the video yesterday, which is annoying. Grenfell family, you feel like a prisoner living here. It looks like a travel lodge. It is only when you walk through the door of the hotel room that you even begin to understand what life has been like for so many of the survivors 6 months on from the Grenfell fire. Stacked along a short corridor, past the wardrobe and door to the bathroom, they've piled up cases and boxes, clothes on top. It's tidy, but a squeeze. This is the room that Grandpa sleeps in. Then through the door into the adjoining room. You can't open it fully because of the single camp bed on the other side. Push through, however, and you're in another room the same size. The single bed is for Dad, Mohammed. A double is shared by Mum, son and daughter. They are 5 and 2 years old respectively, and there's little space in which to play. There's nowhere for Mohammed's wife, Munria, to cook, so most of the time they get takeaway meals. The plastic boxes are stacked up neatly on the side, ready to be washed. Feeling like a prisoner. For the last 6 months, this is how the Rasul family have lived. It's a struggle, says the father, Mohammed Rasul. At first, immediately after the fire, you think, oh okay, hotels will be comfortable for a while, but the novelty soon wears off when you realise that the place you're going to be living in, it comes to the point where you feel like a prisoner living in here. That's quite bad. When I've stayed in hotels for a long time for work, you do get kind of claustrophobic sometimes because all you see is the venue, and then when you get back to the hotel room, all you see is the 4 walls of the hotel room, and there's not always opportunity to like go out, have a look, have a breather from the room. So it does feel quite it does feel claustrophobic. So I can understand where they're coming from there, but let's read on. Mohammed's father had lived in the Grenfell Tower for 37 years. Now 86, he has vascular dementia and he's confused. They have been offered a new home, but not close to where they used to live. All we want is to be rehoused in the same area. We want to be there, back in the community with our friends, my son's school, he says. Nightmares. Take the underground from the stop close to Mohammed's hotel, change at Notting Hill, and in half an hour you can be at the hotel, which is currently home to Rashida Ali and her 10-year-old daughter Hayam. I have lots of nightmares. Sometimes I cry in the middle of the night and wake my mum, and she calms me down and says, don't worry, at least we're safe. I don't feel safe when I'm by myself or like in a closed room and there's no escape next to me. I just feel I can't breathe. Okay, it's quite getting quite grim, isn't it? But you can see like what's happening here. You think the aid that comes to you is actually going to be aid that you can rely on, that you think is going to be good. Unfortunately, it's taken a very long time for these people to get rehoused, and the housing situation in the UK is not the best at the best of times. So it's sad that people are still having to, suffer and not have their own home. I don't know what they would do. It's just crazy. After the fire, I actually drove past the Grenfell Tower, and it was very scary. It was like some post-apocalyptic world, and when you just stared at the tower, it was very scary. You could imagine like the fire blazing and people screaming and shouting and running for their lives. It was quite moving, and I feel sorry for everyone that's suffered. And I don't know. I think the government should have done something about this a lot sooner to get people out of these temporary accommodations and into proper housing. But there's just nothing you can do because there's nowhere, unless you tell people to move to, I don't know, say Leeds or I don't know, Wales or somewhere. It's just not gonna happen. It's quite bad. Let's just read on. What's this about? Nobody answers my emails. Despite Miguel is one of a few leaseholders in Grenfell Tower. He bought his flat in 2001 and had 15 years of his mortgage left to pay. That's another layer of complication. Despite all he's gone through, he says he's having to fight to get the council to accept his demand that the new home he eventually moves into will be the same size with the same number of bedrooms as his Grenfell flat. He asked for a meeting and they take 1 week. Nobody answers my emails. This lack of communication isn't a one-off. A recent council meeting, one woman, Lydia, whose elderly mother lived on the top floor and who survived because she was away that night, said she had 11 different housing officers assigned to her in the last 6 months. What? Are you serious? Lydia's hands and legs were shaking uncontrollably with stress as she spoke. Many say that the delays and uncertainty are taking a mental toll even. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's just close that one. That's actually getting quite depressing. Let's have a look at this one. Messages from the tower. Piecing together the timeline of London's Grenfell Tower Fire in the words of victims and survivors. Not sure if I want to read this. This could be quite sad as well. I like how the BBC have prettified the site. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the BBC are making something of this, which is interesting. Inside the 21st floor, what's that all about? Whoa, look at these images. It's pretty much the same thing there. So let's just look at the local news to England. Royals to attend Grenfell Fire Memorial. About 1,500 people are invited to the multi-faith service, including the bereaved survivors and rescue workers. How many of the residents of the Grenfell Tower are going to turn up after reading what I just read? It's interesting. Okay, so let's close that. Surgeon marked initials on patient's livers. Are you serious? That's funny and bad at the same time. Simon Bramhall was a liver, spleen and pancreas surgeon. Assault by beating. What? That's weird. You don't expect your doctor to initial your body parts. That's just crazy. Is England a healthy nation? No way. You can tell that by my waistline. Okay. There isn't that much happening. Okay. This looks like Bernie Eccleston here. Is it? No, it's not Bernie Eccleston. So this lady went driving and motorbiking in her sleep. That's scary stuff. Alright, let's see what Tech Radar has for me today. More Star Wars sponsored stuff. Let's refresh this. Yep, more Star Wars stuff. I wonder how much they're paying these websites to promote Star Wars. Okay, let's see what Tech Radar's Ultimate Christmas Guide is. There's a Batman toy there, there's a Sony camera, a phone, headphones. We don't want the gift guidelines, we want the top 10. Is there a top 10? Let's see what the top 10. It's okay, so they don't have them split up. Let's see. Let's see what the best tech deals are for cameras this Christmas. Alright, so these are the best cameras to get over the Christmas period. Sony Cybershot RX100. Now this is a good camera. It's got one of those fold up screens, I think this one has at the back. So Argus is probably the cheapest at $329. Interesting. Okay, next one is the Nikon D3300. Now that is a good camera for entry level, and it does movies in 1080p, which is really good, but I would have preferred at least 4K on a camera, but based on its price point, I don't think you can go wrong. It's a good entry level. And it's got a Canon, it's got a Nikon F mount, which is good because there's a lot of good lenses available for that, and quite cheap as well. The Panasonic Lumix ZS50 and the TZ70, so they're the same price as each other. What? Okay, so this does 1080 as well. Actually, let's go back to the Nikon. It says it does continuous shooting 5 frames per second, but do you need the extra battery pack for that, the battery grip? It doesn't say, does it? Well, you might have to look into that. But that's probably a really affordable price, and not bad for an entry-level machine. An entry-level camera. It looks nice. So now we have Canon's offering, which is the 1300D or the Rebel T6. Is it actually known as the T6? Let's see, Canon EFS. Okay, so you can. It's obviously going to come with the standard 18 to 55mm lens. This is a very beginner camera. Continue shooting 3 frames per second. Okay. Okay. Then we go to the Nikon D5300. Now this is nice. Here's Nikon DX mount. Why would you have GPS built in? There's no need for it. It's so stupid. It will take up battery life as well. That's just annoying. Okay. Oh, here we go then. We're getting to some serious stuff now. So the Sony Alpha A7R. I've never actually used one of these. So I haven't actually checked how good these are. But because it's a mirrorless camera, it's meant to be really good because there's no shutter in the way of it, and you basically see what you see in the final picture. But look at the price of this. It's going, and it's going fast. That's actually, I would say I wouldn't pay that much for a camera like this unless I had some experience in using it, but I'd say it's a middle tier kind of price. I prefer the actual feel of a Canon or a Nikon. So what's this? So this is a Sony Alpha A5000. Now this should be cheaper. It's been around for a while, I think, hasn't it? Yeah. Okay, so this does 1080 as well. I would have thought that most of the Sony cameras would have done 4K out of the box. Interesting. Canon PowerShot SX710HS. Now I had a look at one of these, but I think it was a very older version, maybe like from 5 to 6 years ago, and it was going on eBay for about, I think it was £70. Now that would have been worth it, but £200 for this, I don't think I would pay that at all. I like the picture quality from a Canon, but the Canon compacts are slightly different from the DSLRs. Okay, so what do we have here? The Sony CyberShot WX220. This is a reliable machine. I keep calling them machines. It's got a good price point, and it's good for a beginner. It's just basically point and shoot, but yeah, it's actually quite good. Low light, it's not so great, but not many of these are great in low light. The Panasonic Lumix FZ70 and the FZ7 £219. Okay, so it comes with a 220 to 1200mm lens. Are you serious? It's a fixed lens though, this is a problem. Yeah, so you can't change the lens on this. Okay. And that's it. Right, okay, I'm just gonna Alright, so I'm just going to call it a day there. But before I do, let's see what's in my mailbag. So I've got this in my mailbag today. And it is dun, 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 my new hard drive, to replace this one, which has started to click. This is double the capacity. This is only 500 gigabytes, and it started clicking, and because it's got some important information on there that I would like to keep for years and years and years, I've decided to get me one of these. And I've been trying to hold off getting one of these because I've seen the price really low at like £35 in Tesco, but that price is now just completely gone out the water. I can only find these for between £40 to £55 anywhere, so I decided, yeah, let's just go for it. And the good thing about this one is though, it's USB 3, so let's just open it up. I need my knife. Where's my knife? I haven't got my knife. Oh, look at that. You get the little flaps to pull it all out. That's really cool. Whoa! Nearly dropped it. Okay, so contents. one really ugly blue. That's not the same blue that I saw online. That's not that blue. Get a nice blue cable with it. Get a card saying hello. And you get the warranty card and what have you. Excellent. So this is USB 3, and this is my first ever USB 3 hard drive. Well, portable hard drive. Really? Do you really need to put this bloody plastic on it? Alright, so I'm gonna test it out, and I'm gonna copy all my stuff onto here. Okay. It works! Okay guys, so thank you very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow, and please make sure you like and subscribe to my video and my channel, and I will see you next time. Thank you.